or even across the world. And with as low as a $250 investment, you can have a little piece of Neighborhood Sun. So we had a good year last year, very good year. We did almost $5 million in revenue, which is a 257% increase over the prior year. We doubled the amount of solar farms we have under management, and we are up to 136 community solar farms across 7 states. Doing all this while not adding anything to our payroll. In fact, reducing it somewhat. So we've got an incredible team that has been working extremely hard and able to succeed in this. We've been on WeFunder before, so we've raised almost $2 million previously. This time our goal is 500,000, and that will provide us some working capital as we look to expand into more states, get more projects, and get towards profitability. We're not quite there yet, but we are getting in that direction, and we're doing a lot better than we have been in previous years. We're looking to expand, hopefully, to California in 2025. There are some hiccups along the way there, but we think we'll get there, and that'll be a very exciting opportunity because it's the largest solar state in the country. Were you going to play the video, Stephanie, or no?
Oh no, I didn't have that set up. I'm sorry. It was just a screenshot.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So the investment has a real impact not only on Neighborhood Sun, but also on the community we serve. So before our previous round of investment, we were saving customers $1.5 million in total. And after investment, we are saving customers $2.8 million. So it's an 87% increase. We had about 3,000 new subscribers in 2022. And then after we got some investment, we went to 4,000 new subscribers last year, a 33% increase. And then for the issue that I think all of us are worried about, climate change, we prevented 109 megatons of CO2 equivalent in before the investment, and we increased that by 31% to 143 megatons after the investment. So you can see direct results of the investment. And I'll put in the group chat just the link you can go to. If you're interested, you could check out the WeFunder page and decide if you want to. If you want to call me or set up a meeting with me in the future, we can do that as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Next up, actually, first we'll talk about some other recent partnerships. So we had a wonderful campaign with our partner last year, Johns Hopkins University, which led to over 127 enrollments from the Johns Hopkins University community. And so we're working on that again this year to provide solar energy access at a discount to their employees, their students, anyone who is involved with the university and lives near the campus. And another Baltimore project that we've got going on right now is Solar for Us, which is a really exciting rooftop solar project that is 100% LMI. That's located on the rooftop of Henderson Hopkins. So that's a school in the Baltimore area that is associated with Johns Hopkins University, and that is 100% reserved for LMI subscribers and ideally community members associated with the school or in the surrounding community. And next up, we're going to have another one of our longstanding community partners share their experience as a community partner and what helped them be so successful in achieving a high percentage of their community organization enrolling in community solar. So with that, we'll segue into the Beth Am presentation, and I'll let fellow community solar subscribers who are also, community members of Beth Am, introduce themselves and tell you a bit more about Beth Am and their experience as a partner organization.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is David, and the way I got to Neighborhood Sun is after retiring, I joined the Maryland Climate Leadership Academy, went to school, passed some exams, and got a certification as a climate change professional. And in the process was introduced to Neighborhood Sun. And since we've been working with Neighborhood Sun at Beth Am, I also learned to do some of these calculations, and it's not a very difficult calculation. But since we've started with Neighborhood Sun, we have avoided burning 250,000 pounds of coal. Next, we'll have to convert this into metric tons of CO2 equivalent, which will be another project. But this has been very gratifying. Of all the different things I've done in the climate change field, my wife tells me that working with Neighborhood Sun had the most impact. Next.
Well, we're lucky to have you, David. Thanks.
This slide is basically the agenda of what we're going to cover today. For each one of these slides, each one of these items, there's a slide. So we're going to begin with the Environmental Committee and the due diligence we did. Next. We had an environmental committee that already existed, went to them and went through a due diligence process to determine that, it was clear in my mind that Neighborhood Sun was the party to use for community solar, but we had to have some other evidence of that. We had a very strong endorsement from and by the way, it's Johns Hopkins. I know, Stephanie, you're from out of town. Be careful with this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Put the S in there. Johns Hopkins professor who gave us a very strong endorsement. And then we talked with Natalia and Kara, and we reviewed the partnership agreement, and we were off and ready. There were enough members of Beth Am. Beth Am, by the way, is a synagogue located in Baltimore City. So it's sort of a Baltimore City synagogue. Next. We got board's approval. We talked to the board members in advance of the board meeting. And in the process of meeting with the board, we had to basically get a signature for the partnership agreement. But we had two presentations. One was a presentation by one of our own members who actually now works for the Maryland Energy Agency. But that was very powerful. Her presentation, she's been using Neighborhood Sun for many years, and then the Neighborhood Sun presentation. But once we got the committee's approval, the board's approval, we were off and running. Next. And then we formed a committee, and here's where Marilyn and Rhonda are going to take over. Marilyn's going to jump in. And I have to say that the environmental committee were a couple of guys. We got this far and we were sort of out of steam. But then thank goodness Rhonda and Marilyn came along and they got the whole process moving along a little faster. Take over, Marilyn.
My name's Marilyn. Let's see, okay. Hi, I'm Marilyn Fisher, and
Go back a slide.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So, our committee was formed by reaching out to individuals who already had an interest in the project and who had expressed an interest in, spreading the word. So I think some of the things that really made our committee work well was that we met in person. I'm not a big fan of Zoom meetings if you can meet in person. By meeting in person, we had a chance to let everybody speak and throw out ideas. It was a little more informal. We did have different kinds of people on our committee, and in fact, that's a big plus when you're trying to reach out to your whole community. Different age groups and people who have different kinds of relationships in the community. We, in our first couple meetings, we talked together about what kinds of conversations we could have with our community members. And then we shared what people said to us in response. So we were both sharing the objections that people made, and we were also sharing the kinds of pluses that we could tell our community members about and why they should subscribe to Neighborhood Sun. Next slide. So one of the things is we got we introduced Neighborhood Sun at other community events that we were already going to have. So David was on the group that if you're not familiar, during Purim we have like a humorous presentation at our synagogue that retells the holiday story in a kind of musical spoofing way. And they extended that to explaining Neighborhood Sun and Community Solar. And if you ask nicely, David might even share the video link. So next slide.
Yeah, I think we should definitely put that in the chat because it was great. You guys did an amazing job.
So what the next thing we made sure to do was to have a good link on our website for the synagogue for people to sign up. And we forward this link to all of the people we solicit, and we made sure to have some good information on the website, so that when we're referring people to it, it reinforces the information that we provided. Next slide. At the level of at the beginning of our community campaign, we made sure to get the most influential people in the synagogue involved. And this is an absolutely fabulous video that our then current president prepared. As you can see, she wore a sun costume, and we posted this video on our website and also sent it out to our members. We also reached out to one of our rabbis was already a Neighborhood Sun member. A second rabbi joined. We got our board president to join, and we asked the members of our board to join, because that's a way to influence your community by getting the most visible members of your community involved. Next slide. Neighborhood Sun offered, and people signed up to go visit the community solar farm that was being used to provide solar energy for our community members. And again, I'd have to refer David to you, who was one of the members who visited, and it's certainly a great opportunity to have a hands-on involvement in community solar. Next slide. I guess this is the one I told you about, which is we've tried to, at various events, explain community solar. So we're reaching community members that are active in different parts of our community. In addition to the Purim event I told you about, our environmental group had a panel talking about environmental matters and sustainability, and we made sure to pitch community solar at that panel discussion. Next slide. One of our great committee members had the idea of posting a recognition board in a central location at our synagogue. We tapped a very talented artistic person to create this solar display. It may be a little hard for you to see, but each ray has a name, and it's always good to recognize people when they sign up, and make sure that the community at large gets an idea of the momentum, because each time they pass the board and new names have been added, they can see that you've got a successful campaign. Next slide. And now I will turn it over to Rhonda.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you, Marilyn. Hi, I'm Rhonda Gelman-Kelly, and I'm the newest addition to the committee. I will go back to that previous slide to explain that the original, thank you, the original Sun there had 100 rays, and we're at 92 now, so we're almost at our goal. And so we're now dealing with so for future issues for us to check, or challenges, I should say, for us to work with, is to determine how we can continue to add names for recognition, but it won't be on the main poster. So we're dealing with the artist and some of the members of our committee to discuss how we can best do that and have everybody feel that they've been recognized appropriately. So then we could go on to the next one. So one of the strengths that I brought to the committee is that my background is fundraising, and this is very similar in the sense that you have people that you would like to talk to about this. In our case, it's the membership of Beth Am and other organizations as well. But the main focus right now for us to get more names on the Sun is the Beth Am membership. And so taking the names from our membership roster and making assignments, and then keeping track of who's contacting whom and what the progress has become and what the future progress could be. We used Excel spreadsheets or any type of contact tracking program that you might have, or software, and using that with your committee to keep everybody updated. We're actually getting that more up and running now. We had an original listing of those people that our committee had already committed to talking with, who had not yet subscribed, and now we're adding to that. So it's highly recommended that you move that process forward with some type of software. Next slide, please. And I'm going to stop for a moment because I was not part of Condo One, but Marilyn was and is, and so she's going to speak.
So I think David added this to our presentation as a case study in how to have a less successful community group campaign. And I guess before, and David and I are both members of Condo One in this local Baltimore community. So there was the first thing that happened was we realized that because the monies that the referral fee of $100, which might be paid into Condo One, would actually be subject to tax, the monies that we would get as referral fees would not be as useful, even though we are a tax exempt organization. We ran into some issues with what the partnership agreement said. I think this is really a matter of not prepping our leadership or reaching out to our leadership as in a preparatory way before decision making. So we did wind up with a partnership agreement, and Condo One has signed up a handful of members, but we didn't create a committee of ambitious and hardworking individuals to continue our campaign. And I think that that even though there are 100 members, there are about 99 homeowners in Condo One, and there are 400 some family members at Beth Am. Our penetration at Beth Am and the success of our campaign has been much better. And I'll turn it back to Rhonda.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Thank you. And so some of the things that we've seen as successful with our efforts, you can read down the list. I'm looking in, and some of this Marilyn had reviewed, but I do agree that you should always get influencers involved that can speak well of your project and can, you know, if they're actually social media influencers, even better. But for now, we are working with people that are well regarded in the community, that are committed, or either they're subscribers and they're committed to solar energy, and they can talk with friends, family, whatever, about the project. That's critical. It's also critical to be creative and have fun. So the sun costume and the new video and presenting at different functions at the synagogue just made it a fun way to present the information. And yes, you can, if you're comfortable with it, talk about the project with everybody wherever you go, whether it's your day job or whether it's evening activities. Please talk about it. You will get somebody at least to be interested and want to learn more, and then you can take it from there. And we talked about getting help from Natalia. And, you know, I've not had, but I'm still early in my discussions with the people I'm reaching out to, but I've not had too many people asking me about how much coal you're not burning and how much the monthly savings will benefit them. We didn't get to that level yet. They're still trying to determine if and when they can break away from BG&E. And so you'll have to find yourself when you're talking with people, and if you are talking face to face, it is easier to get an idea of where their real concerns are. And then you can begin to address their concerns as that goes, and try to get in the information, at least from my perspective, of how much people are saving and the real benefits of everything in the program. And then really critically is asking each new subscriber if they have anyone they would like for us to reach out to, or if they would like to reach out on their own. And the next slide, please. Is that
That's
it?
Yeah,
I think that's the end.
Yeah.
I might just add, this is David, I might just add, thank you so much, Rhonda and Marilyn. One other thing, in Maryland, those of you in Maryland, you've probably already experienced retail choice, that I say like the well has been poisoned by the third-party retailers, energy retailers from Texas. They have all these different names: Clean Energy, Green Mountain Energy, with several different names, but there have been scamming Maryland for about a decade. And recently we passed a bill called SB1, and it will protect consumers from these third party. But a lot of people have, when we talk to them about energy, they just think of the third party energies, which were famous for doing two things. One is they would sell sleeper rates or very low rates, and then they would raise the rates slowly. So people thought they were buying electricity at one rate, and then very soon were paying much more than the standard offering service, which is called the SOS, which is the basic BGE price, number one. And the second part of the scam was to promise 100% wind or 100% solar, but they were actually giving renewable energy certificates. So it was not wind or solar, but it was a certificate, which is another whole story. So those, we hope, are ending in Maryland, but I think that was one of the biggest barriers, that we had 10 years of these Texas, we call them the Texas bandits, stealing from Marylanders without really creating much value. Back to you, Stephanie.
Thanks so much for that note, David. We'll actually have our next community advocacy board meeting be focused on the differences between third-party energy and community solar and rooftop solar. So be sure to join us next quarter when we hold that, if you're interested in learning more about that.
Stephanie, I did want to add just a couple of things, if I might.
Sure. Yeah, please do. Thanks, Rhonda.
I won't belabor the meeting. I just wanted to say, for next steps and areas where we can continue to grow, we have committed to really doing a full court press on our membership and trying to get as many people signed up as possible. But we also are going to be talking about our website, which you did have a chance to see for a moment or two. And we're relatively buried on the website. So I want to try to convince them, the powers that be at the synagogue, to move us up in priorities, given it would likely be for a short period of time and not forever. And so they could, or a bigger link notification on the homepage, something that would get the, not make people frustrated when they go to the website to sign up. And even if we provide them the link, sometimes they don't have it or they can't find it. So they go to the website and it is hard to find. The other is a commitment to moving forward with social media for, frankly, for the younger and the older members of the congregation. And we had 1 or 2 mentions on our Facebook page, but really not much more than that, not consistently. So I'm sure part of that is that everybody's staffs are heavily overworked. And so it's not a high priority for them in their job descriptions, and I can appreciate that. But maybe you have, if you're working on having other groups doing this as well, the importance of having somebody on the committee that has marketing background that can maybe pick up some of the pieces for the staff that just can't get to it. But a lot of that has to do with permissions, et cetera. So we're kind of feeling our way in these areas. And so we'll have a better report for you maybe in 3 months. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much for that note, Rhonda. And thank you, David, Rhonda and Marilyn, for giving this presentation and sharing your experience and being such dedicated community solar advocates and subscribers. We really appreciate you. And this list of success factors is really, a cheat guide almost on how to be a successful partner. And we've had a lot of community partners in the past, and the ones that are really the most impactful in enrolling community members are the ones like, they share that have that leadership buy-in, that have really dedicated members who are passionate about environmentalism and, social and environmental impact, and who are doing the work, because ultimately the people in the community organization and on the ground in the community, are going to have the best ideas for what's going to work, because you understand the pain points of your peers, and you understand what appeals to them as well, and you can establish that trust. So this was a great example, as well as the example essentially of what not to do. And we would like to invite any subscribers to share in the chat any of the community organizations that you might have close ties to. It seems like we've got a lot of Maryland people on the call, but across all of the states that we serve, we're always looking for, local community organizations that have community leaders who, have strong ties to their peers and to understand their needs and their pain points, like I said. So if you're familiar or, strongly involved in any community organization, whether it's an environmental nonprofit or, a club that picks up trash or, focuses on climate change, or a nonprofit that you're involved in, really anything. Or we have a lot of nonprofits, but also businesses that are impact minded, as well, like our partner Compost Crew. And so we're always looking for, great community organizations to connect with and maximize our impact, and help us hold events in the community as well. So please feel free to share in the chat. You can also reach out to us by email at any time if, you think of an organization later. And that really is the best way to maximize your impact as an individual, because if you communicate with Sorry, Marilyn, would you mind just muting yourself? I think it's echoing. Maybe that's not you, but so yeah, sorry, as I was saying, if you have a community organization that you're involved with, please let us know, because that is the best way to maximize your impact. When you just let your friends and family know, that's amazing. And we strongly encourage that as well. But your circle is inherently going to be smaller than that of a larger community organization. And there's also much more capacity for momentum to be built, when you're doing it with other people in your community rather than just going it alone. And like I said at the beginning, we also want you to send those people to us, have them set up a meeting with one of our team members so we can answer the tough questions. And we don't want it to all fall on you, because we really appreciate everything you do as subscribers and community solar advocates already. So we don't want to make it any harder than it needs to be. So I also wanted to open the floor for questions, whether or not you all feel better equipped to be solar advocates, if there's anything you need to feel that way, and if you have any questions for Marilyn, David, or Rhonda about their experience leading a successful community partnership. So I'm just going to open up the floor. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question with your voice, or feel free to share it in the chat if that's easier, and I'll read it out loud. Is there a status on unified billing? The billing is confusing and hard to sell. Michael, we couldn't agree with you more. And if it were up to us, it would be standard, because it's complicated for everyone for it to be different in every state. And the utilities like it that way. They want it to be harder on us and on you. So unfortunately, that's out of our control. That's up to state policy, because it's regulated differently in each state. So right now, there's a lot of great momentum with Maryland successfully passing a bill to move towards consolidated billing. So that should be happening next year, I believe. But it has successfully passed and is set in motion. It's just going to take a while, to be implemented, so that you start only seeing one bill and not having to deal with a separate neighborhood sun bill to pay for your community solar credits. New Jersey has also just passed legislation, and New York has been on consolidated billing for a while now, which does make it a lot easier for subscribers there. So as a company, we're always advocating for consolidated billing. Gary has done a lot of work to make that happen, and we're looking forward to the day when every community solar subscriber can have access to consolidated billing. So that's the status on that. Unfortunately, there's not much more we can do about it other than pushing for every state to establish policies that ensure consolidated billing, because it does make it a lot easier for people to access community solar, especially low and moderate income subscribers. So we're really pushing for that. I see another question here. It's hard to understand and explain to others what one is paying for in each bill. We completely understand and agree. And that's why it's great for you if you can sort of establish that sense of trust for them to already be interested. Then you can have them set up a meeting with someone from our team who can take them through the details of what billing will look like for them specifically. We also have sample bills on our website that you can access and show to people, but it requires a lot of hand holding, and that's why we suggest you sort of handing them off to us so we can take it from there, because we don't want to put that on you. I'm just seeing if there are any other questions I missed. does Beth Am get their energy from Neighborhood Sun? Do one of our Beth Am members want to take that one?
I had responded in the chat,
Oh, thank you. I didn't see it. Sorry.
and I think Natalia did as well.
Okay, great. And not only is the organization subscribed, but Marilyn, Rhonda, and David all started just as regular community solar subscribers and are now, incredibly dedicated advocates who have helped enroll, nearly 100 fellow peers. So that's much more of an impact than any of them likely would have had on their own, although I know you've also had successful individual referrals, so we appreciate that as well.
Well, we have also most of the board and our rabbinical staff and some of the office staff. So yeah, it's been all inclusive.
Truly a community effort. I see another question. No need to apologize. There are no bad questions. Community solar farms are placed on existing buildings. There's actually a rapidly growing movement right now, especially in urban areas, to make use of space that would otherwise be unusable on rooftops, because we don't want to use land that's valuable and in good shape that could be used for other things. So a lot of our projects that are on the ground and not rooftops are on otherwise unusable land. We have some community solar farms that are on, like, Oaks landfill is in Montgomery County. That's 100% LMI project in our community, and that one is on a former landfill which is capped. So that's a wonderful way to turn, unusable land and essentially an environmental burden into an environmental asset for the community. And we also have a lot of projects, some of the ones I shared in the list of the ones that we're, that have availability right now for referrals. Some of those are rooftop projects as well. The one I mentioned, Solar for Us on Henderson Hopkins School, that one is a rooftop project, and it provides 100% of the school's energy as well as energy for community members who enroll.
You might want to get a picture of that when it's built, so people can see
Another
it,
one we
the
have
Henderson
is
Hopkins.
Free Range Solar Farm, and that's located on Yeah, sorry, what did you say, David?
I said when Henderson Hopkins is built, you may want to get a
Yes.
photo of it, because that should be
Oh,
pretty
we will.
dramatic.
We will, don't worry. And Free Reign that I was just mentioning is on a small portion of a horse farm where the land is, to use to serve any other purpose. So they're letting us, have a community solar farm there that's also going to cover all of the horse farm's electricity needs, as well as, community members who enroll as individuals for their home. So great question. And yes, we have community solar farms in a variety of places, but definitely a lot of rooftop ones. Another one is on a storage facility. So that's a great way to, make sure that we don't use up any land that could be used for anything else, because that's the last thing we want to do. Any final questions? Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and listen to Beth Am's amazing presentation. Thank you, Rhonda, David, and Marilyn, for taking the time to share your experience and inspire other community solar advocates. And I'll be sending out an email with this recording later, as well as the list of community solar farms that we're currently looking for referrals for. So feel free to reach out to stakeholders matter at neighborhoodsun.solar if you have any questions. I'll put that in the chat real quick. if you have any questions about B Corps or We Fund or Raise, or anything that was mentioned in this presentation, if you have suggestions for a community organization that you'd like to bring on board, we'd love to hear it. So thank you all.
Our pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, thanks.
Thank you. So long.
Bye, thanks, David.